we get that outlook, I just wanted to thank Jan, our great host. Don't run out, Jan. I just wanted to thank Jan, our great host. We had a wonderful conference. I know that Jan was so worried over the past few weeks in the course up to here, but everything went so smoothly and so convincingly. You had it all in your hands and you did a great job. Thanks again. It was a pleasure to be here. And I also have to extend this thanks to Jan's team. You may remember that in previous conferences there were certain groups of people who were helping. Personally, I'm very fond of remembering the teenagers in Lek. You mentioned them yourself, Jan, when we were back there in Porto Alegre. This time we had a different group. In this case, in Jan's case, we called them the interns, because they did kind of internship for Jan, and this was officially signed and it was a very official process. But please also give a big round of applause to Jan's interns. And I have to mention a few other names because this is really teamwork. I mean, Jan did all of the things here in Gdańsk and it was a lot of work, but everyone who was involved in the association for a bit of time knows that this is a long process, and we've been basically working towards it for a year. Right now is the point of time where we start thinking ahead and we start planning what might be happening this next year when we are visiting Sydney. The same happened last year when we actually were at our last IALJS conference. The meeting started and there was a group of people that was involved in the planning process all along. One of them was, of course, Rob. I mean, we praised Rob for all the things that he had done yesterday, but I can just repeat that Rob was really on top of things as far as the planning process of this conference is concerned. So thanks again, Rob. But this also involves a few other names. I have to mention Isabel Neri, who's our new research chair. We were so glad that you joined the group last year because we were really in a very desperate situation. The position of the research chair is a very, very important one because it's so time consuming, and particularly the time frame from, let's say, November in a year up until the conference. So it's half a year of work, of constant communication. Everyone with a question regarding the program, the submission process, etc., will turn to the research chair. I'm glad that Isabel took this important job over and handled everything so quickly. This also involves Kevin Lerner, who's member of the conference planning committee. He has been for many years, and he's also part of the program committee together with Rob. So it was this group of people who basically joined for Zoom meetings or Teams meetings every 2 weeks. It was a lot of communication. There were a lot of complicated questions to discuss, so please also give a round of applause. Finally, I would like to thank you as participants. And I think this is really important. Rob also stressed this in his short presidential address yesterday. The association has been through a very complicated time. We have been through a pandemic, not only the association, but everyone. But for this association, it was particularly difficult because our usual conference cycle was somehow broken, and we had to find ways how to communicate with each other, how to get things going, how to meet. Would it be possible to meet at all? I mean, we had a gathering last year. It was a great conference in Santiago de Chile. It was great that we had a couple of persons there in person. Thanks again, Robert, for making this possible. But still, it was more a hybrid kind of conference. And I have the feeling that right now we are back to normal. And you could have looked at the banquet group yesterday, this large group of persons. Thanks again for the wonderful evening. I mean, this is how I have known IALJS all along. And I can really say we're back to normal, and I'm just glad that you were there and made it possible by just being here and taking on the long trip. It has been a long trip for many of you, I know, so it's great that IALJS is what it is. Thanks. attention to next year's conference, and I'm glad that our organizers for next year's conference are still staying around, although it is getting late in Australia, I know that, but we are very much looking forward to IALJS-18 in Australia, and I would like to invite our upcoming hosts, Sue Joseph, Willa McDonald, and Matthew Ricketson to say a few words about that event. What can we expect and what can we look forward to?
Hi everyone. It's a bit weird because we can't really see you. Sort of around there. I can see Tobias, so. Thank you. Up a bit. Oh, hi everyone. That's great. Love it. Okay, that makes me feel better now. I'm just going to share my screen. We've just got a little presentation for you. Be as quick as I can. Right. Okay. So finally, everyone's invited to Sydney, Australia for our annual conference, IALJS-18. Willa, Matthew and I could not be more thrilled to be organising next year's gathering and have already begun planning. So, first things first, tonight I'm zooming in to you from Deakin young country, an hour and a half north of Sydney. Matthew is on Kulin Nation land, and Willa is coming to you from Gdańsk country, the lands of the Eora nations. This is where we will gather next year, on Gdańsk country. So tonight, I wish to acknowledge these people and their lands, and on behalf of Matthew and Willa, pay our respect to elders past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge here. These are, and always were, Aboriginal lands. So, next year's conference is hosted by 3 universities. Macquarie in Sydney, Deakin in Melbourne, and the University of South Australia in Adelaide. So Willa represents Macquarie, Matthew's from Deakin, and I represent Uni of South Australia. We often jokingly refer to ourselves as the 3 amigos or 3 compadres, because we meet and talk frequently of our love for the form that brings us all together annually, literary journalism. So, taking our love of our field, the thing we've landed on for next year is a little abstract and a lot dreamy, but it's derived with specific purpose. Oh, hang on. Literary journalism and the wondrous glory of the everlasting stars. It's a line from one of our earliest and most illustrious literary journalists, A.B. Banjo-Paterson, a lawyer, journalist and poet. Our theme is taken from one of his best love poems, Clancy of the Overflow, written and published in 1889. It's nestled in the last 2 lines of the 4th stanza. You can see it here on the screen. It's a great poem, you should look it up. It's a poem about comparing city life to the outback, and evokes the big, wide skies of Australia and its unique light, something you have to see to believe. This is Paterson, and behind him, the original poem as it appeared in the Bulletin. Very blurry, I'm afraid. The Bulletin was a periodical first published in Sydney in 1880. Its main focus was politics and finance, but scattered throughout was long-form journalism and poetry, and also amazing artwork in the form of satirical cartoons and illustrations. The Bulletin published its last edition in 2008. So, inspired by one of our most beloved early literary journalists and poets, we're bringing 2 exemplary keynote speakers to the stage. Don't get a fright, Anthea. Our own dynamic Professor Anthony Garman from Rhodes University in South Africa, and Dr. Willa from the University of South Australia. Briefly, we all know Anthea is a highly published journalist and scholar. Her areas of research are talking and listening in the public sphere, citizenship in the media, creativity in the imagination, and journalism practice. What you might not know is that she's also an award-winning poet. Dr. Deborah Dank is a Gdańsk Wakadja woman from the Barkly Tablelands in the Northern Territory. A scholar, a poet, potter, and now a creative writer. Her first text, We Come From This Place, In 2022, it was selected by the Grattan Institute as one of the books for the Prime Minister's Summer Reading List, an annual collection across the land of 6. In 2023, it was shortlisted for 3 New South Wales Premier Literary Awards, and then they're being presented on Monday night in 2 days' time. And she made the shortlist of 6 for the 2023 Stella Prize, the annual literary award for writing by Australian women. Now we know these 2 colleagues will bring their enormous intellect, grace and generosity to our conference next year. We look forward very much to hearing from them. 2 scholars with extraordinary careers within and beyond the Academy. So next year we will convene at Macquarie University's City Campus at Angel Place in Pitt Street in the heart of the Sydney CBD. Note the name of the address, Angel Place. Couple that with the wondrous glory of the everlasting stars, and we think it all is quite well for our gathering. The first 2 nights of the conference, we are planning 2 events. One sponsored by Deakin University, where Matthew's from, and one by the University of South Australia, which I'm here representing. They'll be catered and informal, but we're aiming at interesting and engaging as well. We're planning our banquet meal on the final night of the conference on a boat, sunset nighttime harbour cruise. It is indeed a wondrous thing to view Sydney from the harbour. When I was a little girl lucky enough to be sailing on the harbour, I always used to describe it as seeing the city from the inside out. And hopefully as the sun sets, we'll see some of our everlasting stars. We know everyone is coming to Sydney for the conference and not sightseeing, but there's much going on in Sydney at this time of the year, as summer recedes and there's a chill in the air. If you get here a few days early, you'll be able to get to the Sydney Writers' Festival, a gathering of national and international writers, always worth a visit. And next year our conference will be during the first week of Vivid Sydney. It is truly spectacular and a really fun way to see the city. On that note, to be honest, if you're making it this far, for most of you, let's face it, halfway across the planet, and have the time and inclination and of course some loose change, remember, Australia is a land of many, many climates and landscapes and people. If you can take a side trip to Uluru, you will never ever forget it, we promise you. If you can get down to Melbourne or Adelaide or Tasmania, do. If you have time to fly up to Queensland and visit the Great Barrier Reef, do it before it's bleached out of existence. Or Ningaloo over in Western Australia, which I'm assured is not bleached yet. Just a day trip to the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney is so worth it. You may not venture this far from your home again. So if you have the time and the money, maybe start making plans to visit at least one other place when you are here, other than Sydney. And one more subject I really need to warn you about, if you've never been to Australia before. Most overseas folk believe Australia is always warm, hot even. You're arriving in May, and believe us, it is getting cold here. If you're sitting in the sun in the middle of a May day, you will be warm. But as soon as you move out of the sun and as it sets in early evening, the temperature plummets. Not to European or North American autumn-winter temperatures, but it's cold, and we have a big chill factor here, which usually catches many of the locals out. So bring a sweater and a coat, you will need them, particularly at night. Finally, what we are aiming to evoke in our theme next year, the wondrous glory of the everlasting stars, is an invitation to be as open and as vast as you can be with your scholarship. We wish to remember the late and great Norm Sims, one of our own distinguished shining stars. The last time I spoke to Norm was at the dinner on Long Island, hosted by Pablo and Stony Brook. He came to my table and made a point of promising, adamantly promising, that if we ever held the conference in Sydney, he would be here. Well, it's impossible now, but still we need him to be here very much in spirit, as we share all our literary journalisms and their different national manifestations, a quote by Sims, to support him in keeping some sort of shape of his promise. And just to finish, I was actually at a book launch at Bondi Beach in Buildings 2 weeks ago today, and took the opportunity to take these shots to you as enticement. And then, believe it or not, at the Opera House 4 nights ago, one of the theatres there for a play, and then again, back 2 days later, in the concert hall for a Sydney Symphony Orchestra performance of Rachmaninoff, and took a few photos to share with you, also as a placement. I even snapped one in the orchestra, you can see it there. The first 3 pics are evening shots here, and this one is a shot on Thursday of truly autumnal sky. They're not masterpieces, but it's truly hard to take that picture there. On that note, we, Willa, Matthew and I, thank you for your time and hope to welcome everyone to IALJS-17 in May 2024. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for this introduction. You should have seen faces here. Everybody is in awe, open mouths, open eyes. I hope that there will be many, many participants, and I'm personally very much looking forward to that event. For now, let us do the final goodbye, and for that I would like to hand the microphone over for one last time to our host, Jan.
There is a mistake here in agenda. I'm not there, so very briefly, I hope you was enjoying our conference or panels or discussions. I hope you was enjoying reception, banquet. I hope you was enjoying coffee breaks without breaks and those with coffee breaks, coffee and those with coffee. And I hope you was enjoying local attractions. So with in a city train, yeah, where we travel to Solomon. Yes, and I really I'm happy that all you didn't lost.
The group, yes.
Because you don't know the language. Okay, so I would like to finish with the image, because I was a student of Mariusz Czygieł, and when he read my first draft literary reportage, he said to me, change this to images. Change everything to image. Start talking, start writing with images. So, image which I have now today, because, you know, emotions are going down, and I'm starting to realize what happened here, and I can't imagine but something reaches to me. The image which I remind today was when I was assisted during birth of my son, and I have the feeling, which I have very similar thing now, that I'm someone imperfect sinner with, I know, sometimes anxious, sometimes I was shouting, I did some bad things, but I know woman, okay, our part is small, but even when our part is small in giving new life, I have the impression that I know imperfect sinner was I create in some way something so wonderful like my son. And yes, this image came to me today. That's okay. Probably I have it was correlation of universe, but yes, that's really I imperfect, bad, simple, or maybe simple boy from Oliva took part in creating something so wonderful like this IALJS conference.